I would like to present you Dr. Noema, who is an adult educator, and she will talk to us about the reasons why we educate. And she will speak about the Maori heritage and the environment into which she was born. Noema, the word goes to you.
Thank you. First, I'm going to connect with Bildung around the essence of why we educate. We educate so that people are happy, so that they are comfortable in their skin, and that our children, our tamariki, reach their potential. We keep our language alive by doing those things that make people happy. I'm going to give you a little introduction into what makes Maori people very happy. First, and before I came on screen, it's always something that we do. We give thanks for life. We give thanks to those who gave us life. I am an Aotearoa, New Zealand citizen of Maori descent. And one of the things that identify us as Maori is what we call our whakatauki. Our whakatauki is an identification code, really, of who we are. We begin with the environment. We are a part of the environment, and in Māori heritage and culture, we name the environment. And that is a part of the educative process. So, for instance, whakataha is the maunga. The mountain is me, and I am the mountain. Waitangi is the awa. The river is me, and I am the river. From just those two small sentences, to short sentences, one who speaks the language will know my geographical location, will know my kinship ties, my tribal affiliation, my history, my family, my extended family, and my traditional work meeting place. So on this journey of revitalising Te Reo Māori, prior to the journey, the language was bordering on the extinct. It is still an endangered language, but if we are talking about happiness and identifying who we are, then language encapsulates all of that. So language loss is significant. And certain events or occurrences happen that drive the loss. And normally this event has happened right across the world, and it's called colonisation. Colonisation assumes that there is going to be some conflict. There will be conflict. Power and authority will be exercised by some over others. So it's usually by force. In the 1700s, Māori were traders. They had their own ships and they were trading domestically, internationally as well. They had, in fact, their own independent flag. So during that time, of course, they spoke their own language. They traded in their language. And that was in the 1700s, early 1800s. And foreign vessels came to our port, mainly from the USA, from France, from Britain. And during the 1800s, a lot happened. The Treaty of Waitangi was signed, and that ensured that we remained a sovereign nation, that we had land rights, but we also had rights which made us equal. Okay, so sovereignty, land, and rights. I want you to hold that in your head. In 1840, that treaty was signed. So, but in the 1860, a crucial event took place, and which influenced and impacted on the way Māori lived. Now, the Chief Justice declared that the treaty that was signed was worthless and a nullity. So this was between 1860 and 1870 when he made that declaration, the ruling. He said, one of the things he said was, treaties are not signed by savages and civilized people, okay, civilized nations. And that has had an impact on the way in which New Zealand has conducted its business, really. And one of the major things was that the education process no longer engaged Māori in their own language, in Te Reo Māori. Okay, by the 1900s, and after the war, Te Reo Māori, post-war, less than 20% of Māori actually spoke Māori, or could be called native speakers. And the 70s, 80s, and 90s were a tumultuous time in relation to the revitalisation of the language. So, important things happened. There were groups that formed to promote those rights declared by the treaty. In 1972, this was a really significant event because a Māori language petition was taken before Parliament, the New Zealand Parliament. In 1975, the Māori Language Commission was formed to assist in the revitalisation. 1980s and 90s, we had Māori Language Nest. Now, this was all done through the protest movement. And I have to note that the protest was passive resistance. Okay, that's what happened. In the 1980s, we had the Māori Language Nests, which are known worldwide now as kohanga reo. And in 1987, during the 80s, the Māori Language Act had official status. So it had to be spoken in the Parliament, and a lot of the signs became bilingual. 89, we began teaching children the Kura Kaupapa Māori movement, where children were taught in Te Reo Māori right across the curriculum. Now, the curriculum included Māori history. And into the 1990s, the development of whare kura. In 2004 and 2000s, we had our own Māori television station. But the upshot of that is that every station, every form of media in the country also began using Te Reo Māori. Okay, so the future. What do we need to do? This is Bildung, I think, at its best. if I can say this in this country. It is ensuring that people are happy in their skin. And New Zealanders now, the youth in particular, and their elders, are now using Te Reo Māori just as a matter of course. So we have come a long way, and it's been a tumultuous journey. It really has, but we're still here. I mean, we're not going anywhere. And all it began with was we started the journey. We asked everyone to learn one word, to speak that word. They'll never forget their first word. But now it's a normal part of the conversation. Everybody in the country will speak and know some Te Reo Māori. And my thought is, when we no longer celebrate the fact that people are doing this in this country, then we know we've just about got there. We're just about there. So thank you for listening. But I think the celebration is important at the time. But we now should be thinking, what is it we're celebrating? This is a part of who we are in this country. So thank you, everyone, and you have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you, Noema.